Good morning, board members, and welcome to this January 2022. Happy New Year to everyone in our audience and also here up on the dais. Welcome to 2022. We know it's going to be a challenging semester as we continue to work our way through the pandemic, the epidemic that we're all contending with. This is our board work session. I just want to, before I turn it over to Mr. Campos to lead us in prayer and invocation, just want to remind everyone that January is Board Appreciation Month. We do appreciate our trustees at our regular scheduled meeting, but just want you all to know we never forget that, and we never forget the gift of civil service to our community, and so we look forward to that opportunity here in a few weeks. To start off our board work session, I'd like to ask Mr. Campos. He'll lead us in invocation, followed by the pledges of allegiances.
Please bow your heads. Lord, we come to you in this brand new year with the desire to move forward, not backward. On this day, we ask you to grant this request. May we be a catalyst for light and love and bring inspiration to those we encounter. As we enter into this new year with excitement and even some anxiety, we recall your deep compassion, presence, and abounding love. We thank you for the gifts, talents, and skills with which you have blessed us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Campos.
Okay, first up on the agenda is Tyco Care Telehealth and School-Based Clinic.
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have anybody sign up to speak?
I'm sorry.
No? Okay. Now, items of information.
Yes, we have our friends from our school-based health clinic partnership, and we have Ms. Terry Delahaya here, I see, and we also have Lizzie and Val. Yes, Roger.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
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 Sorry about that.
Okay.
We'll move on. Is the Penguin Project ready? Okay.
Yes, we want to, as all of you know, we've been to Corsicana ISD to really go and see the Penguin Project. We've talked about it in here in the past. As we prepare to really create a memorandum of understanding with the Penguin Project entity and with Mr. Andy, is it Cohen or Morgan? Mr. Andy Morgan, who is the developer of this opportunity. We'd like to bring status reports to our board as we go along that pathway. And so we have Mr. Leila Garcia. She's going to fill us in on where we are, where we're going, what we've done since that visit to Corsicana, and what we look forward to next year.
Thank you, Dr. Versto. So we do have also Dr. Aubrey Hogan and also Mr. Flores, who have continued to just move this great idea, this great project forward. And just like Dr. Versto mentioned, we do have Dr. Andy Morgan, who now we do have an MOU that we have been able to establish in order for us to move this work forward. And the process, Dr. Aubrey Hogan has been able to visit also Broken Arrow District, and she will come also and share a little bit of that knowledge and experience that she has been able to share with us as well. So we do have here Mr. Flores and Dr. Aubrey Hogan to follow through with the presentation. Thank you.
Good morning. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So I know some of us have been able to go and visit with Corsicana, but I wanted to kind of give a brief overview of really what the Penguin Project is about. And so there's really the big picture to the Penguin Project is that it's really about an opportunity for a group of students to put together a modified version of a Broadway musical. But the wonderful piece to this is that all of those roles in terms of our artists are filled with children with disabilities. And each artist has a peer mentor that is assigned to them. And so while they're on stage, during practice, during actual performances, resources. That mentor is right there by their side, really supporting them in this process. And so the idea behind the Penguin Project is really to give students with disabilities an opportunity to really build their self-esteem, to gain confidence, for those mentors to really gain some skills as being not only a great teacher, but learning how to be a friend to any student. And so the Penguin Project really has morphed into a really great opportunity across the nation. Dr. Morgan, who I've had the opportunity to spend some time speaking with a couple of different times now, has started chapters all over the United States. We've had the opportunity, which I think is wonderful, to see now 2 different groups perform and practice. But the goals that he really talks about is really the opportunity for those students with special needs to develop these creative skills, to really encourage them to increase their communication, their ability to really join with their peer partners and learn some skills that they wouldn't necessarily be able to gain just from a classroom setting. And one of the things that he really talks about that I absolutely loved hearing his version of this is that it really gives the opportunity for groups that wouldn't normally work together to really facilitate this, from your medical community, your educational community, other theater professionals, individuals that wouldn't have necessarily worked with individuals with disabilities are really coming together to kind of support this process. And so one of the things that he talked about a lot is that he's done a couple of different surveys to kind of look at, of the chapters that are in place, what did they see in terms of kind of the big picture? And one of the things that I really think was impactful is that he talked about really those students that have been a part of this project really left this project feeling proud of something. Most of the students that have been a part of this process feel a lot better about themselves, feel a lot better about building relationships with individuals they wouldn't have normally had the opportunity to do that with. There's lots of things that he talks about in his surveys that he looks at in terms of being impactful. What's interesting is I asked a lot of these same questions to both the Corsicana group and the Broken Arrow group, and the information that they shared with me really mirrored what he talked about. One of the things that I really think is important to kind of look at is when we visited Corsicana, they hosted us, they did a wonderful job. They had a lot of people for us to talk to, but it was a set program for us to come in and observe. My visit to Broken Arrow was very different in the sense that although they knew I was coming, this wasn't a set process. So I got to spend time really immersing myself in the group with the parents and with a lot of the talent and the mentors. And all of the same things that we heard from Dr. Morgan and from Corsicana were very much the same conversations that I had with the group in Broken Arrow. So what that tells me is this is a project that can be mirrored with success regardless of where you are in the process. So Broken Arrow has been doing the Penguin Project. This is going to be their 7th year through Clark Community Theater, and they've now kind of immersed themselves in the public school there. But this is an old hat to them. This is something they've already done. But all of the parents that I spoke to said the same thing, which is this is an opportunity for them to see their child shine on stage. The students that I spoke to, every single one of them talked about how they love coming to practice, how they love doing the performances. But one of the things that really resonated with all 3 groups is that with the Penguin Project, it's the process of creating this show that is the most impactful. It's not necessarily the performance, it's all of the things that come along with that. And so I think it's really important as we kind of walk through that we understand that there's going to be lots of things that we're going to experience that are wonderful, but it is a process, and there'll be lots of things that we're going to learn as we kind of go through that. So I wanted Richard to kind of chime in and talk about what he pulled from the visit to Corsicana and what his thoughts are.
I think it's a wonderful project. The collaboration between all elements at the district level and at the campus level, and also among the students themselves and the parents. Seeing and speaking with the parents was really very impactful for me. I know 3 of our board members were there with us as well. But while the students were rehearsing, we got to sit down and speak with the parents, and they just raved about it, and it was nothing but smiles on faces, smiles on the faces of the mentors, smiles on the faces of the artists as well. We didn't see an actual performance. We're hoping to be able to do that later on in the month. But seeing that process and kind of piggybacking on what Dr. Hogan mentioned, is that it is about process. The arts are all about that, whether we're talking about the Penguin Project or just in general. The fine arts and all performing arts really is about the process. It's what you learn and what you do. Yes, at the very end, there's this payoff which we call the performance, and sometimes those things are evaluated in a competition and all that sort of thing. But that's just one small piece of what it's really all about. And what it's really all about is that process that the students go through, and the teachers and all of those involved. And I was just very, very impressed by the project, and it's something that we definitely want to support and bring here.
Okay, I'm going to just share this quick video. And this just kind of gives you, from Dr. Morgan's perspective, really what the Penguin Project has done for chapters that have gotten involved.
The Penguin Project is a program for children with special needs to perform theater. We've learned that children with special needs have significant difficulties with communication skills, socialization, and self-esteem, and these are the very things that the Penguin Project helps with. I am a physician who works with children with special needs. That's what I do for a living. And I've been involved in theater since I was in high school. And I watched my children grow as they performed theater, become really very competent young adults, and realize this is a great thing to combine together.
It's amazing. This is a kid, she's pretty quiet. She processes other people's talking pretty slowly. Just kind of stays in the background. Since she's been in the Penguin Project, her personality has gotten big and she's gotten really confident, and it's carried over into school. It's amazing.
Watching these children on stage, smiling, enjoying what they were doing, and interacting with each other. But more importantly, I remember what I saw when I turned around and watched the parents watch their children.
It's an amazing opportunity to watch your children grow, because I think as parents, certainly when Bryce was diagnosed, the thought of him performing in a play never crossed my mind.
One of our main focus is to encourage relationships, friendships. Many of these children have never had friends.
It's just so much fun. You get to sing, you get to dance, you get to meet friends. It's a big family all together, and you just have so much fun while you're doing it.
I think it's really cool how they just come and let loose, because when they go to school, they're around a lot of other people, so they can't just dance for hours.
Our choreographer cuts these kids no slack. She sets the bar high, she does things, and I look at her and say, what? Do you think they can do that? She says, of course they can. And she's right. You set that bar high. You give them the chance. You provide them with the support, and they will do it.
She has capabilities that I didn't know she had. Just seeing that she can relate to people outside of her family just makes me think she's got more in her future than I thought she did.
We've seen so many children who started out being shy, uncertain, communication skills that were really not well developed. And over the years, they develop more and more confidence. They become successful professionals. We have teachers. We have therapists. We have kids who have really thrived. And on a different level, children who are much more significantly impaired, who are now living alone.
We're not the same, we're different in a good way. Together's where we belong. We're all in this together.
It lets me see a time where I could drop her off at a job, drop her off with friends, and she's okay without me being right there.
While they're on stage, there is no disability. And we don't talk about disability, we talk about ability.
Does anybody have any questions for Richard or I?
I have some questions, but I want to discuss, because I know some of board members went up there to visit Corsicana, and I want to get their feedback and how they felt visiting the school where this was presented at. I feel like their insight would help me understand the takeaway. I think this is based on inclusion of all our students and getting them to work with other students and making those friendships. But I want to hear from, because they've seen it firsthand, my peers over here. So I would like to hear how they felt when they visit that school. It's just something that, having a conversation with them.
I'll go first. Peter, it was amazing when we went to go see. It was just something I've never been exposed to. The children that were that had disabilities were they were presenting basically a play, and they were all the main characters, and they had a mentor with them on stage that facilitated all of the work that goes into that. And we got to watch them practice. And it takes a number of adults being on the stage with them because you have different abilities represented up there. However, in talking to the parents, it's just the parents are like just so overwhelmed at the idea that their children have this activity that they can go to every evening that fills their lives and their, I guess, hopes and dreams. You know, we're used to seeing parents that are overwhelmed because their children get to participate in so many things. We're used to seeing parents that they're overwhelmed because their child has basketball and they have soccer and they have, you know, and they have the play and then they have band and they're going everywhere. These parents don't experience that. Oh, wow. Their children, like these parents told us, their children, their whole entire world, their bubble is in the school during the school day. And it's the same people in that bubble. And their children don't have as many opportunities to make these connections after school and on the weekends. And these parents have to figure out a way to fill that time for their children. And you know, it's hard. It's a hard thing to do every day, day in and day out. And for these parents, this opportunity is just huge. I mean, these parents had tears in their eyes as they told us what this meant to them. And the kids were really happy and joyful. It was something to see.
One of the biggest takeaways for me is that it gives children that are just typically developing children insight into what special needs kids' lives are like. And so one thing that Corsicana said was that it kind of changed the whole atmosphere of their school district, and it's just more inclusive. So they're not afraid. Because, you know, when you don't understand something, you tend to be afraid, but there's not that fear anymore. They go up to each other at school, they invite each other to eat with them at lunch, things that wouldn't have happened before.
What I saw sitting there was just a great feeling. There was a lot of joy, smiles, laughter on the stage, you know, when we were watching the rehearsal. And it was just a great feeling. I sat there smiling the whole time because I thought, wow, this is amazing. If we can do this for a little, you know, a small group of kids, I know it's going to change a lot of the perspective, the perception of a lot of the other kids in schools, you know. When I spoke to the parents, it's the same thing. I can echo what Yolanda said. You know, they felt joyous, they felt proud. It was just a great feeling, everything. I am very much looking forward to doing this for our students.
And another thing, this was a small school district. You know, they did not have as many resources as I think this district does. And I don't think their fine arts was as advanced as ours is. I'm like really looking forward to see what we can do here because I feel like we have more resources. We have a very, very evolved fine arts program. I can only imagine what's to come. I'm very excited.
Well, I'm glad you're all.
We will have double the amount of students that probably want to participate.
That would be great. So we do have on January the 14th, we had already planned, and again with contribution and efforts from Dr. Hogan and Mr. Flores, we have prepared a trip on January the 14th, but due to the changes with the COVID, the flexibility with that, we are going to be not going on a charter, but we will be taking those urgent, the most critical people within our system that need to be further see the outcome of the production and just the culminating of it in order for them to come back and reproduce and duplicate this great opportunity here in our district. So we will be still having a group attending on January the 14th. However, we're not going to be taking the big number that we had originally intended to do. And at the same time, just with all this, is we are looking at, along with the plans, we're looking at possibly bringing forward maybe some additional stipends that we've been needing for some people that will be putting in above and beyond hours, either evening hours, weekend hours, and also some critical positions within the district in order for them to be able to roll out this amazing opportunity for our community. So just something that we'll be bringing to the board in the future. And then again, thank you for Dr. Verstov and the board, the ladies that were able to attend, in order for you all to have a bigger picture as what we are now speaking to with videos and conversations that we're bringing to you. But it is a great opportunity that we are looking forward to here very soon in the future for Southwest ISD. Thank you.
What is our tentative timeline look like?
So right now in our timeline, and we already have a projected, so Aubrey has already visited an additional school district, as she mentioned. We are looking at in the summer, doing some of that work that was done in Corsicana. We are also sending our PR, Jenny, who will be attending just to see the marketing piece of that. So along with it, just the different people that we feel that are important in order for them to be able to launch this, that work has already started, the background work. Now that we do have the MOU, now we can start looking at Penguin Project being posted and being able to look for funders, sponsors, in order for us to be able to roll this work out. So next year around this time, we will be celebrating ourselves, possibly dressed in penguins, celebrating penguins. And we should be anticipating around that same week, the third week of January, having our own production here in Southwest ISD.
Awesome.
So we're excited.
Thank you.
So is this project set at, going to be set at a local high school? Or we're going to set it at across the district? Or how's that going to work for our students?
Those things are still being formulated, but yes, we will house it at some facility here at Southwest ISD for the production. As we lead up to the production, because of conflicts with the theater programs at the high schools and so forth, we may start out small with using other venues at first and just getting all the students used to being in this atmosphere and so forth. And then as we get closer to the performances, of course, transitioning to the stage that they're going to perform on, so that they have multiple times to go through that production before they do the actual performance.
Have you reached out to any of our parents in our area to see maybe what's it called? Asking them how they feel about doing this kind of
We've not done a survey as of yet, but that I think will be part of how we roll this out, is we will have to have parent interest and interest level and see how many people would want to be participating in the program, and we'll get info from them.
With the survey, are you going to try to gather the base where to set it up at? Like if it's going to be at a certain area, or is that because of the high input?
It might be, if we got, results back that were, all the people that were wanting to be a part of it were, for example, located in one part of the district, then maybe, one facility might lend itself better than another, but it's too early to tell on those things as of right now.
And also to piggyback on that, in order to have a successful program, you have to start small. So it may be that we have it at one high school first because it's easier for the staff to access and transportation and all that, but it's not a matter of leaving any part of the district out. But if we don't start small enough to make it successful and we try to do this huge old thing, then we're going to fail.
Yeah, we have to scale it up.
I just want to make sure that was something that we're looking at. I agree with you, ma'am.
Yeah, and we're looking at March. Dr. Morgan himself will be addressing the parents, and that will be our first opening where we invite the parents, we give enough information, and I know Aubrey has already been even having discussions with her own staff, and the staff themselves have already been identifying opportunities amongst themselves of how they're going to be communicating this out to their parents. And so in March, we're looking at Dr. Morgan coming, and he will be the one who will be addressing the parents that will be invited to this opportunity for them to witness what we have witnessed right now, and then having open dialogue as far as the experiences, the amount of practices. And so right now, for this, our customers will be the students. And so we know that for them, us moving the venues, back and forth, and we're being cognizant of that we're being mindful that it might not be the best thing. So we're trying to look at from all different perspectives, from the amount of people to the number of participants. And I know with Corsicana, they did start small, they have increased their numbers, and the same thing for Broken Arrow. So I think that we're going to be able to enjoy our own experiences, and as we develop this experience and opportunity for our students, we're definitely going to look forward to, just having multiple opportunities for our students. But we will be bringing in some additional updates as we get closer, but I know in March, that will be our first start where we are reaching out to our community with, we already have letters, we already have the design of the work. Dr. Morgan has everything pretty much outlined, since it is a charter and this has been happening in other nonprofit organizations. And so we already do have some other school districts that we can go back and learn from, which is what we've been doing with Corsicana.
And my last question would be probably for Dr. Hogan. How do you think this is going to help? It's probably going to help a lot with our mental awareness coming out of COVID and getting everybody back to the face-to-face. But do you think you're already hitting any bumps in the road where mental, trauma has effect from the COVID aspect of not being able to communicate or try to get this off the ground as of right now?
So I think this is a great opportunity. In my visit to Broken Arrow, that was one of the big questions I asked some of the parents that I spent a lot of time speaking with that particular day. And what they all said is, coming out of virtual learning last year and being able to come into this process, it really helped to address the communication, their self-esteem, really just kind of navigating in a smaller group. I will say Broken Arrow is size-wise in terms of their population is actually akin to us. And what they did is they actually took an old building and they made that building utilized just for the Penguin Project. And they did that so that the students had a familiar area to go initially and practice in. And then they have designated days that they actually go to the stage. But they did that so that the kids had some familiarity, some opportunity to have visual supports up for those that really needed those visual supports. But I do think this is really an opportunity to address a lot of the social concerns that we have, the big gaps that we're seeing, some of the trauma. What's interesting about the Broken Arrow group is the majority of the people that are running that group are the fine arts department. They have no background in special ed. However, what I will tell you is they are the most loving group of people I've ever met. They created some things in place that I would have never thought about, but because they're looking at it from a different angle than I would, they've really created some opportunity. Like, for example, they're backstage. They've created that area as their way, an area for the students to go when they're not on stage practicing, to do like our arts and crafts kind of stuff, but it gives them an opportunity to kind of hone their skills, to refocus their energy. And these are people that don't have my background, and they were able to figure those things out. And so I do think this is a great opportunity to work on a lot of just the trauma we're seeing.
And if I could just put a period on that, fine arts in general is a balm for the soul, right? And BALM, right? And so it really does help our students on the social emotional level and helps them get past these difficult times that we're in.
I want to thank the ladies for going out there and looking at this project and bringing their insight. I also want to thank you, Mr. Flores, and up there for this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dalila, Richard, Aubrey. Stands to be one of the most single positive things that we can do, especially during this time, is focus on, put our students in that spotlight, like y'all said. Great presentation.
Lizzie, are y'all ready to go? Okay. We're going to go back to A.
Yes, so Title Care, we have, everyone knows Val Maldonado, and we have Lizzie joining us, a former graduate, works in our school-based health clinic, and Terry De La Hoya, who's just been a great friend to Southwest ISD for many years, and driving force to make sure we have a school-based health clinic in our backyard. And now we have an opportunity to merge technology and medical attention for our students. And so we have been approached by our friends to be a pilot for this new opportunity that's coming forth. And I don't want to steal any thunder, so I'm going to cut it short and turn it over to them. But I'm going to tell you, in my 33 years here, it was one of the most impressive demonstrations and presentations I had the privilege and honor to be a part of. So we look forward to providing this to our trustees and then hear about our next steps and where we go from here with this opportunity.
Well, hello again. How are you all? It is great to be back. So before we actually start on the Title Care demonstration and presentation, I wanted to give you an update on how the clinic is actually doing. So we'll start with that. Our staff includes Dr. Hoff, our medical director, Ms. De La Hoya, who is here with us today, myself now, and Ms. Manrique, our wonderful clinic manager, and then Ms. Garcia, who is our physician assistant, and she is wonderful and loves to work with the Southwest ISD community. As far as our clinic updates go, we'll talk about Title Care later. We're planning on our college readiness drives, those drives that help get our seniors ready for college to make sure they meet the immunization requirements. We also are in the planning stages for sports physicals, making sure, of course, that our athletes are healthy and ready to play those sports, and then also our fine arts people as well, and everybody who that includes. Our back-to-school immunization drive, we plan on holding that again because that is super successful in Southwest ISD, and those immunization drives are definitely utilized by the community. You can see that this past year we had quite a number of students who came, and that was with COVID in place, so we only foresee that increasing as time goes on. Our flu drives have been super successful, so thanks to Dr. Herseth and of course everybody here, we were able to use the back parking lot in the football field for a community flu drive, and those numbers, as you can see, pretty much doubled from 2020 to this past year. So we'd like to continue that as well. And then, of course, primary care for all, meaning that the school-based clinic is not only there for like acute sick visits, but for all of the community's healthcare needs, for staff, for students, and for the community at large, because if we have a healthy community, guess what? Our students are going to be healthy as well. So we want to make sure that people know that the clinic is there for their use. Really quickly, our clinic volume. Let's see if I can move that little. Well, the largest bar up there is in August, which correlates with the back-to-school time frame, right? And that thing. I got you. And then September and October and November, you see that increase is still there. And then it kind of goes down throughout the course of the year. And that's pretty typical of the way our clinic works and the amount of people that we see. We did see over 4,000 people this past year. So again, our clinic use is just increasing with every year as well. Most of the people that we see are here for either immunizations, which are nurse visits, or telemed, just because of the time that we're in. COVID, most people call in, say, I'm not feeling well, what can we do? And so that's more than half of our visits. Then we also see about a quarter of same-day visits, which are, again, those acute care visits that call in, say, can I get an appointment? Can you see me? Excuse me. Have a frog in my throat. And then about 10% are for those well checks, either adults or the well child checks for our children. We did do PCR swabbing based on the visit and what the provider indicated was needed. And so you can see again in September we had an increase in that. thinking that again in January, we will see an increase as well, just because that pretty much mirrors what is happening in our community. Most of the people that we see are school-aged, the 5 to 18-year-old, the 5 to 18-year-old age group. I'm getting water all over. And then we have a portion of adults as well. So again, most of the people that are utilizing the clinic are school age, but we are seeing an increase in the portion of adults that we are seeing as well. We also have a portion of 0 to 4-year-olds of preschool age, that come and utilize the clinic as well. And we want to continue to encourage all age groups, 0 to 99, to come and use the clinic. I should say 99 plus because, well, Betty White, right?
Actually, there are only patients that we've seen live 102 years old.
There you go. Okay. Most of the people that we see do have Medicaid. We do have about a quarter of our population who have commercial insurance. And then we have those who are on CareLink and Medicare, but that is a much smaller population of the people that we see. But most do, again, have Medicaid. You can see the various zip codes that are utilizing the clinic are all from the Southwest area, 78002, 78245, 78073, 78252, and 78242. Almost 40% of those are coming from the 78002 zip code.
That's the country.
Yes, so you know there's a need, definitely. And now to Title Care, what Dr. Verstup was stating, this is a very innovative way of doing telemed. It is telemed plus, right? Because we actually have equipment that goes along with the telemed visit, which can be housed in the school clinic. The nurse can help facilitate this visit with the provider on the other line. So I'm going to hand it over to Elizabeth and Lainey, who is on virtually. So Lainey will actually lead us through the demonstration, and Elizabeth will assist with that. So that way you all can see, and then we can answer any questions that you have.
So before we start the presentation, I just want to introduce you to what the device looks like. So this, very heavy piece of equipment, has an iPad and a drawer connected to it. The drawer is lockable and the iPad is made so that it's fixed to a surface, so it shouldn't walk away. And the iPad is maintained by university and our IT department. It would have a specific login for that nurse, and the nurse would use the iPad to log into the Title Care app. So the Title Care app is truly all she would need to access Title Care. Along with the iPad is some equipment that Title Care has that we do for the actual visit. And so the Title Care equipment looks like this. It is a little machine here that has a light and attachments that connect to it. And this is all operated by our provider at the clinic. And so whereas this would live in the school nurse's office, the actual device is operated by Ms. Garcia back at the clinic. And so Lainey will show you a little bit about how this equipment works. And then if you have any questions afterwards, you can definitely.
And Lainey is our Title Care guru representative, so she is the expert on how this works. So I am happy to hand that over to Miss Lainey.
Awesome. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Thank you for that introduction. Like Elizabeth, my name is Lainey, and I've been with Title Care for a little bit over a year, and I'm really excited to show you guys what a demo of Title looks like and what a typical visit for your school nurses and for the staff will look like. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my iPad screen. So let me know when you can see that. Perfect. I can see it on the projector through the camera here. And so for the purpose of the demo today, I'm going to be logging in as though I am the school nurse. I unfortunately don't have a student with me to be able to do the demo with, so I'll be performing some of the exams just on myself instead, but gives you an idea of the types of exams that we can do with the TytoCare device and what it looks like. So when I am logged in as the nurse here, the first screen that I'm brought to is the patient lookup screen. So this is where the nurses will go in and searching to see if the student already exists in the TytoCare platform for UHS. So they would do a quick search of the student's name. If the student weren't listed in here, they could go ahead and just create a new record for them quickly with this little person with a plus sign where they would enter in the first and last name, the date of birth, the gender, as well as the student ID. I'm not going to go ahead and create a new one today because I already have patients in here. I am just going to do a quick search for the patient name, but wanted to show you how easy it is to quickly create a new patient record within the TytoCare platform. But for today, I'm just going to search for my Elizabeth Hecht patient and start a visit with her as though she's in the office here, and we want to connect with UHS. I'm given two options here. I can either go directly into what we call a queue. It's a really easy visit. So every single school has access to the queue for their school so that the providers can easily tell where patients are coming from. I want to do the full visit intake process. By visit, means putting a brief questionnaire so that providers understand why the student is needing a visit with. So I am going to see if find that live video visit. I'm going to briefly view some notes that were available from last time. And then here's that queue that I mentioned. So I only have one available to me here. And then I'm entering in those symptoms. So for instance, my student might be experiencing chills. They may have some dizziness as well as a fever. Can you all hear me all right?
You're cutting out a little bit.
Did you want to reconnect your audio, or are you using a phone?
I'm connected to my phone and I have strong cell service. So let me see. Is that better? Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Perfect. I'll keep it at that. And Valerie, go ahead and text me again if I'm breaking out. I can pause there for a moment. I know I was cutting in and out a little bit. Are there any questions about the workflow that I've done thus far before I continue?
No, ma'am.
No, I think we can follow up.
Perfect. Yeah, it is very intuitive and user-friendly. So, if you do have any questions after the fact as well, feel free to email me. But I went ahead and entered in the symptoms that the student is experiencing, as well as when they started feeling them and how severe they are. Now, this really is that the provider knows exactly why the patient needs it prior to taking that. Now I want to submit it, and I'm going to be here waiting for a visit until Elizabeth and I provide to connect. So there's this room, we call it a waiting room, until I get that notification that the provider is ready to see me.
In this video, we will review how to manage your TytoCare patients.
It does that video every time. Sorry. So here's where.
They do the tutorial. Yep.
Okay, so here's where our provider on our end at our clinic, this is the screen that they would see. And they would, it makes that kind of cell phone ring on our end that shows us that there's a patient waiting in the queue. So here's the patient that Lainey created. Our provider can click on this
and add it to their queue. And then she would go to her queue with all the patients that would be waiting for a telemedicine visit. Click on and see the patient information, and also see what you saw Lainey clicking as far as what is wrong with the patient. So their chief complaint and then any notes that the nurse would have put in before starting the visit. Are you ready for me to start it, Ms. Lainey?
Yep, we can go ahead. And up to you on if you want to switch to sharing your screen, or I can also keep my iPad screen shared here. I can't fully see what your display situation is, but I'll just keep sharing this until you switch it over if you want to.
Can we share this? We're going to go ahead and share it, Ms. Lainey. Hang on one second.
Perfect. Yeah, and it is a lot easier to see what it's doing with your device from the provider view. And what you have the right screen here, I, as a school nurse, am also seeing on my as well as on.
You're breaking up, Ms. Lainey. You didn't want me to allow the microphone, correct, on this side?
I could allow it now, but then just mute right after.
When it works, it's good.
Sounds like the healthy bed.
I did it with my mom. I had that during the worst of COVID.
You're breaking up.
I had to. I didn't have a choice.
Okay, so
Yeah.
All
Oh no. But there's a choice, man.
we're going to go ahead and take it over from here, Ms. Lainey, because we're not getting a good signal from you. Can you follow my lead? Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is what our providers will see on our end. Lainey has a TidalCare device, and she, like I said, the provider on our end would control that device, so she'll follow my lead on anything that I would be telling the school nurse. So the school nurse will have a conversation with the provider about what's going on with the child, and then we can start the exam. So, for instance, if the child had ear pain, the provider would most definitely want to look in the ear to make sure that there's no blockage or ear infection, anything like that. So with this device, we actually have the capability to do that. So I would instruct Ms. Lainey to go ahead and attach the ear probe device to her TidalCare machine. And they do have disposable heads that go onto them, which university would provide as needed. And then I would start the ear exam. So I would click here on the ear, and I would turn on her otoscope.
Wow.
And then the provider would be able to look directly into the child's ear. We actually have the capability of recording the session as well, so if we needed to go back and check it out, we could later on. And so then you could switch from the left to the right. If I wasn't getting a clear picture, I would then be able to tell the nurse, no, go a little to the left, a little to the right, anything like that. And all of that is done through this video conference with the school nurse. Your ear looks good, Lainey.
Yeah, real good.
Mine would be all right.
So I'm going to go ahead and end that visit. And then another great feature that TidalCare has is also heart and lung sounds. So we know just based on activity that we have in the clinic that we do deal with a lot of asthmatic patients. So if there was something that the provider was concerned about, breathing issues, needed to hear anything in the child's chest, we could also do that as well. So Lainey attached the device for that, and I'm going to go ahead and click the lung exam. It instructs the nurse where exactly I would like to hear. So it is a little hard to hear on regular speakers, but our provider has special headphones that you can hear perfect heart and lung sounds through. And so if I wanted her to change locations, I would just click on the different locations, which would also instruct her on her Tidal Care device on where exactly we're changing locations to, and we can also hear from the backside. Along with this as well, all of these visits have the capability to record.
Wow.
And so can we start a heart visit, Miss Laney? Okay, perfect. So we're switching exams, uses the same head. It's very faint, if you can hear it. And it's very clear on our special headphones. So Ms. Laney, if you could do me a favor, one last presentation is the throat exam, if you can switch to that head. So there is a tongue depressor feature, and that comes again with a disposable head. And all of these sizes are in pediatric and adult. And I'm going to go ahead and start a throat exam with Ms. Laney.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it is definitely the future for telemedicine. I'm not sure if anybody has experience with a normal telemedicine visit on the phone, but this is, like Ms. Valerie said, plus. Very advanced. Thank you, Ms. Laney. Does anybody have any questions?
Lizzie, is this just for the students that are attending the school, or does this allow a parent to bring a younger child to do a televisit, or is it just primarily for the student?
Right. So it will be for students first as we pilot it, and staff can also utilize it. But really, it's up to the school district. If we want to allow parents to come in and utilize this in the clinic, in the school clinic, that would be completely okay because we have the capability to do so.
I just want to mention something. The reason that we want to do this presentation with you today is that we want to get your buy-in and your support to have the school nurses engage with us. This can only work if the school nurses at your campuses have this device. And instead of sending the child to a static clinic, they can do that examination with the school nurse on site. So we don't have to send them to the static clinic. If they have transportation problems, and we're working for trying to include mom and dad in this visit so that mom and dad is also getting the feedback they need to help make a good decision. I will pick up my child from school, do I have to have further evaluation, those types of things, so that we make this very convenient. And this type of device is a backpack. This type of device you can buy at Best Buy. And if your provider happens to do this type of televisit, you could use this device in your own home. And if you don't want to take your child to a doctor's office, you could simply put the devices in the appropriate location. The doctor could assess your own child or yourself, for that matter, and give you feedback, write you a prescription or whatever the case may be to facilitate your needs. So the whole effort here is not to inconvenience anybody, it's to provide the best convenient care that we can, and at the same time, these devices give us good visuals of what's happening. And if we need further evaluation, obviously we want the family, the child, the parent to go in and get further evaluation so that we can make sure that we're getting some immediate care to them. And so what we need your support is if the school nurses are engaged in using this, then we can communicate with them on a regular basis. And so that's what we wanted to bring it to you so that, before we develop that partnership with the school nurses, that you're aware of it, that you support this, and answer any questions that you may have.
I do have another question. So I know that when a child goes to the school nurse, we don't have to call the parent and say, your child's going to the nurse. But if we're going to have a physician see them, are we going to notify the parent before we do the televisit? Because to me, that, I would want to know
Yes.
that my child's being seen by a doctor.
So that would be part of the workflow on the school nurse's side to contact the parent and let them know. We would also have consent on file.
Okay.
But we do want that courtesy call to be made so that way the parent knows, we are going to have their child seen by our provider.
Okay.
So
And
does
then
that
you-
mean-
Wait a second. So you said, you mentioned prescriptions. And so this person that's doing the televisit would be able to write a prescription and send it home with the child, or what?
Send it to the pharmacy.
Send it to, with the parent's consent?
And
We would ask that our patients be already initiated MyChart. I don't know if you're familiar with what MyChart is. It's an electronic medical record that you can access from an app that university has. And so it's really great. You can see the whole visit summary. You can see all the prescriptions that were sent to the pharmacy. Anything that you would like to know about that visit is readily accessible on MyChart.
Okay, and then so if I have private insurance, I don't go through the university health system, are you going to file an insurance claim on my Blue Cross Blue Shield, or what are you going to do?
we would file to the insurance just like we typically would a visit.
And so all of that would be on, what, are we sending out flyers, how are we going to
So-
communicate to the
So
parents?
we have a consent, we'll send out an information sheet, and then it's up to you. We can do a town hall, we could get the information out however you will want us to.
And
that
so-
way it's clearly communicated.
So you would already have my child's insurance information at the school?
Yes.
Right now, we don't, though.
No,
And so this would be an opt-in,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So you would have to have something signed with the parents' consent that you're going to file on their insurance and all that kind of stuff.
So many school districts across the country use this type of televisit. And when the students enroll, what we do is we get consent as part of the enrollment period, that if your child is sick, that they're okay with us utilizing this
Yes.
type of care. But at the same time, the contact to the parent would be done prior to any type of intervention.
Yeah.
You would have to have their consent.
Yeah. And you said opt-in.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we would not see anybody without a consent, without consent, no, absolutely not. We are also working on a video with Roger and his team to send out, and it takes us through, end to end, beginning to finish, on how the title care would work in the school district. And we use Nurse Howell and one of our students for that video, so that should be
Nice.
coming up pretty soon.
But one of the unique things, we're trying to minimize the days of student miss of school. Keep students in school, get them back to school a lot quicker. So when we originally talked, we talked about piloting at 2 locations so that we can work these issues, exactly these issues after you bring them up, that we can work them out. That's still really doing that?
Yes, 2 to 3, whatever you will choose, but yes, definitely a pilot first, so that way we can work through all of the little kinks, and then, once we're ready to go, we can implement district-wide.
It's also a big benefit to our parents not having to leave work
Yeah.
to take their child to the doctor.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. And we know lots of parents during this time have either lost their job, maybe don't have, transportation, so this definitely helps out with that. But as Dr. Versa said, and as Ms. Delahaya said, it really does decrease the rate of absenteeism. It allows our students to stay in schools where we need them.
and what if you don't have insurance and you're not a part of the university health?
So if they don't have insurance, there is a telehealth fee, a standard fee across the board that they'll be charged. But then you can also connect them with other resources that we have in the system.
And what is ballpark, what is that fee?
$50.
Okay.
So just so that you know, most of the children, if they don't have insurance, sometimes they qualify for Medicaid, they haven't even applied.
They don't know yet.
And then if they don't, most of them will apply for CareLink, and they'll use their CareLink account for this. So we'll take every measure possible to make sure that they're covered in some way without having to pay out of pocket. That's our goal, is to get them covered in some fashion to be able to access, and not just for this visit, but long term as well.
Mhm. And how are we going to address the extra workload on the nurses?
Yeah.
So we wanted to pilot it at the places where there was support already. because they have an extra person, like our
Mhm.
high schools and in our middle schools. That could be a possibility to see how it works and to see if that extra load is too burdensome for an elementary school, or if you all need to think about, what support that, the nurses will need in order to implement this successfully. And then also we can talk about how we can help with that.
Yeah, I can see them needing some kind of a clerk that is on the phone while they're trying to help the other, because they can't just concentrate on one child, they have so many at the
Right,
school.
and the high schools and your secondary campuses do have
Yeah.
that set of extra.
I think the pilot has to be, I mean, it's crucial to do.
Well, the conversation we've had at senior staff, we do plan to bring a structure for our health cadre employees about getting additional support in the floating arena, so we can see
Yeah.
where the needs are. And, dealing with Omicron and how it's expanding, we definitely need additional health-related support services in that area already.
Well, Dr. Verstov, the nurses talk a lot about the administrative piece of their jobs in the schools, right? The paperwork, and if we can lighten the load in the paperwork, then they can pick up a little bit in this area.
The other benefit to this is staff can utilize this. I mean, staff don't necessarily have to be out for the same reasons, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely a concern nowadays, but they have the capability of being seen in-house on the campus and wouldn't have to leave, and maybe we could get them back to work sooner as well.
Yeah. And the med clinic's like $150, $175, $200. $50 is a good price.
So our goals are to finalize the pilot campuses with the district, then implement the training for the nursing staff, and then, of course, do the informing of parents and guardians, sending out the consents, making sure that everybody is aware of what this really is. And then implementation, and we hope to do that all by January this month. So we have a good goal, I think we can do it, but we definitely wanted to bring it to you all, so that way you all have confidence in this new way of doing healthcare and medicine. And being that that's definitely the way of the future, and we wanted to make sure that you all were a part of that.
I just want to reference too, also, we have Linda Ganetto, our Director of Health Services, who's working in tandem with our friends from United Health as well.
I think it's awesome.
Sounds
I think
good.
it's going to be really
University Health, I'm sorry.
good for our community. And our parents are really going to benefit, not having to leave work.
I think this could be, it's really awesome. I have got a chance to work with it at the UT Health Science Center as a volunteer to input the stuff for the nurse, and the nurse came over and checked it, and it was awesome. It was neat. Like, you really didn't have to have a clerk. You could have had somebody as a volunteer. And that's where I come up to also bringing this up, that it could help us with since we have medical team, I guess, our medical pathways for Southwest and Legacy, giving those kids the opportunity to input some of the things, see some of the triage, because I think this is more triage implementation. They could take their vitals and input them. I think partnering with hand in hand to help you limiting, like getting the vitals and teaching the kids even those vitals aspect. This would be a good way to also, when you set up set up the pilot, to have some of our students get involved in that pilot, so that way they can implement their skills and then getting their hours for what they need for their capstone.
Amanda, I want to say that this school district is the most progressive school district we've been able to work with. You have a really amazing superintendent who is a great partner, very open to trying new things. We're very blessed to have him as our partner that we can work with and grow this clinic. Then obviously we have a former student, and then of course Valerie came to us from you. So thank you and Ms. Garcia is also from this, the provider from this area. So this is like the perfect type of team that one could put together in a school district. And then with the type of support that you offer, this is like, you're the ideal school district. And whenever we open up another clinic, they all come here to look hit your clinic. Northside, we're gonna open up, this summer. We all came here to visit your clinic, to see what you're doing here, and so you should be very proud of what you've accomplished, for your community, for your student body, for, where you're at with me. So thank you. We appreciate being your partner, and, we sincerely appreciate all of the support you have offered as well.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
taking your time out.
All the work.
Yeah. Thank you, Lizzie.
Is that it now?
Yes, if y'all don't have any more questions.
No, thank you, Valerie.
very exciting
Appreciate
work.
it. Okay. We're,
I'm never going to go to the doctor again.
Lloyd.
Oh, no.
Lloyd, who's presenting item C? CW local update? Okay. Brandon?
So, we've been asked about the naming, especially the new natatorium that's under construction, to be built, and had a scheduled completion time of April, and now I think that's moved back into the summertime. We started looking at policy, where we start with everything that we look at, and we noticed that we used to have a CW local in our online policy. I believe with one of the prior updates, that CW local in some regards was considered to go to regulations, but it's no longer a policy. And so Brandon has done a really great job of reaching out to TASB, who we always reach out to, and they provide the service, particularly under policy. We were provided some sample policies, and so we'd like to bring one back. We're not looking to name any facility today. We're just talking about the policy. That provides guidelines and directions for the school district when we want to do something in this regard. So I'll turn it over to Brandon and let him kind of cover what he's been through and what we provided to you as a sample.
Yeah, so we reached out to TASB, and they provided me like 4 samples, but all of them were really relevant, pretty much the same. And so I took pieces of others and added to this one. This was option 2, but things that we've done in the past, things that we've seen in the past, I made sure that was going to be in here. And so this is really just a draft, like a first reading to see it's obviously board policy, and so it's for your approval. And once this is set up, because like Dr. D said, we had one before my time. I know when we opened Resnick and Legacy, we went through a process, but for some reason, the CW is no longer in board policy, and I don't know when it went away. But we probably want to put one in for future facilities and future schools, future naming of facilities. And then so that we could build also off of this a admin regulation that we use for procedures to form committees and who's on those teams and what is our, examples would be, like all our elementaries, we right now use kind of the neighborhood, geographical areas, middle school reads, and astronauts. We want to put that all in writing. We started that, but we really want to make sure it reflects what board policy is, because we want to come back and say, well, we practice this way. This is what policy says, and so we need to change it. So it's better to do policy first, and then so we can finish our admin regulations on moving forward. So really, the first slide there, you have this here. Is kind of just setting up the 5 criterias that kind of covers everything. Really, this is everything we've kind of done in the past. So this is guidelines that we would put into place that would lead us to have our admin regulations. Number 1, a facility be named for a person who has served the district or community, especially in the service of children. Number 2, a facility may be named for a local, state, or national heroic figure. Number 3, choosing to memorialize a person in the name of a facility, the board shall not bestow the honor while the person is living. Any person nominated for a memorial must have made a significant contribution to society or to public education, and his or her name has lent prestige to a facility. Number 4, a facility may be named for a local, residential, or geographic area, or a state or national landmark. And then number 5, a facility to be named shall be a separate structure or campus, and I can't even say that word right. I can't even say it. Identifiable. I don't know. I was looking at the end. Existing facility. I'm never going to say the word again. We'll probably take that out of policy. Existing facility or campus shall not be fragmented by renaming portions of the structure or campus. And so these are kind of the top 5 that we were able to put together based on everything that we got and things that we've done in the past. So really, I'd really like to hear your input on these 5, and we can discuss them and see if you like them, don't like them, what you think about them, as we move forward, so I can make changes and go back to TASB and get, do different renditions.
Is this something that we can email you our suggestions, because it's already
Yes,
12:50?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, because you can email us,
Yeah.
email me what you think, and then I can bring them back at the.
Or we can even call you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call and
Okay.
email, and then I can bring them back at the next board meeting as an item of information.
Okay.
Really, this is a process for us to get to a point where we get this approved, and then from there we go figure out.
What kind of timeline? Yeah, I do too, except
Yeah.
well, we'll talk about that later, but, what kind of timeline do we need to figure this out to name the natatorium?
Well, I think by the time, so we're gonna get into, I would have to talk to the contractors and architects, because there's gonna be a point where, based on signage,
Yeah.
and just the availability of signage, the faster, the better for them.
Right.
And so we're going to make a decision on naming the facility. I need to make sure what they're projecting on with that signage. Now, if it doesn't come in time, we definitely want it there for the opening ceremony.
Right.
And so let me talk to them, because I don't want to say March and then they're telling me it needs to be February.
So it could, just a tentative timeline, we can email you our suggestions or concerns or whatever, and then we can talk about it at the February brown bag, and then we can vote on it at the February meeting, if that meets their, if that meets their thing. If not, then we could bring it, we could give you our suggestions, and then you can bring a recommendation at the January board
Let me
meeting.
talk to them, let me talk to contractors and see what they actually, where it is in the timeline, so that we can get this all knocked out, and then we can.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give a false timeline. and
Right.
We get behind it, and we don't deliver a signage.
Yeah.
On the building, so let me discuss that with them.
Okay.
And then I will, at the next, even at the next January board meeting, I can bring
Yeah.
another reading, and this is where we're at, what do y'all think, bring it to the brown bag.
That's a good idea. Bring us
So-
another reading at the January board meeting.
So we're gonna email our suggestions of different aspects of what
Our
The
feedback.
policy.
the policy is. And you're gonna come back to us with what I stated or what someone else stated? Like, I
Well,
just
I
don't
mean,
know,
that's-
like, I wanna know what everybody's thoughts are.
Correct, I mean, I can bring back, that's really gonna be up to you all, how you want me to do it. I mean, I can bring back every suggestions, or,
Well, I think you can look at the suggestions. We might all have one in common, so you don't have to say, that 5 times,
I'm not
but,
gonna come back and say this is what Mrs.
Right.
Lane said, but I'll come back and say this with other board members.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just wanna,
So that we can have discussion about it.
Correct. I'll bring back what the suggestions were, and then we can discuss them at the next board.
We can do that at the items of information in January. That'll work. So y'all have let's just say to get all your suggestions in by Monday.
I would also just remind us, we're probably going to need at least 2 months of runway from the time we have a policy to the time that we get direction on the process.
Okay.
Because it takes some time to get it out to the community, to let the community have input, not on the policy, but on the actual recommendations of what they want to name. We think it's better to do it through a committee, put a committee together, or we can use a growth and planning committee. They're already a representative group of every corner of the school district. Then we bring ultimately recommendations, but I just want the board to know, ultimately, it's going to be up to the collective board to either approve the name or to not approve it, or to give us marching orders again. But I think if we do, knowing that this building is going to be done in the summer, I would think that we definitely need to have something done before March 1st to give us some.
I think February. I think we can get you our suggestions. You can bring us something to talk about, like another draft at the January meeting. And then if we want to, we can discuss it again at the brown bag and vote on it in February. That's good. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Okay, a local virtual program?
Yes, ma'am, we were planning to bring, it was a different conversation when we left for the break than it is today, but I'd like to turn over to Mr. Leila Garcia, who's going to update us on where we are in our virtual local program. I don't know if the presentation has the numbers, but we have approximately 260 families who have been enrolled in our local virtual program, as a reminder. It is a non-funded program that we do, so it's completely locally funded, but we don't generate any revenue from this program, but another service and outreach and extension to our families. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Dalila.
Thank you, Dr. Russell, but definitely, just like Dr. Russell mentioned, we brought this back in December, in our brown bag in December, just to share with the board the investment that the district is offering for our community, where we do have over 269 students that are participating with virtual. And at the time, we did discuss us being able to roll out 2 letters to our community, which was a letter to inform the parents that were participating, and letting them know that we will be culminating this opportunity for our community. However, due to the COVID changes and just the discussions that we've been hearing from the health sector and also just amongst also experiences here within our school district, we are going to be extending this opportunity all the way till March the 25th. By March the 15th, we will be coming back and considering having a senior staff conversation, whether we still keep to March the 25th or whether it will be something that we would like to continue to extend. Again, our opportunities is for the community. At the same time, we do encourage that the parents do keep in mind that face-to-face instruction is just the opportunity that we do want for them to come back. And that is where we do want the students. We do want the students in the classrooms and that face-to-face instruction. However, just like Dr. Ritter mentioned, this is an investment that as a board and also here within the school district that we've been able to offer for our community. The letters will be going out, and the letter has been placed there in front of you. And so this letter I appreciate from Administration of Human Resources, where they've been able to prepare the second letter that should have gone out by this week. And so this letter will be going out to the parents to letting them know the extension of the services that we'll be continue to provide.
Thank you, Delina.
Thank you.
Okay, before we go into closed session, do you want to say anything?
No, I believe at the DICE, everyone has some activities that are going on. I think we have our our spelling bee that's going on, I believe, in one of our auditoriums at the high school, called virtual participation. So, we will probably check it out, for everyone. It just has a list of things that are going on through most of January. Through most of January.
2 weeks.
Just understand everything's fluid. Just like we've seen, I believe in the college bowl game, a number of them have been canceled, postponed, modified. We're entering what we think, sitting with our local health advisors, that we're in a period where we're going to see the expansion of Omicron keep going. We don't know how it's going to impact events. We don't know how it's going to impact the day-to-day. Currently today, we have about 91% of our staff who are present, 82.1% of our students who are present. And so we share data with our surrounding ISD friends. It's pretty much in line with what we're seeing around. Our student attendance rate today is a little bit lower, I think, than the other ones we've seen. But we're going to keep encouraging our students to come in. And some of that's driven because we're the only one with a local virtual program. So those students are 269 are automatically absent every day.
Right.
So our percentage is always going to be a little less than the ones around us. So we're sitting okay today. We have updated our protocols, but I think it's just important to understand we are in a very fluid environment for the next 2 months. And after 2 months, we think it's going to kind of taper off somewhat, and we'll get more normalcy as we once had here in the recent months. So.
Okay.
Dr. Verstook, have you gotten a positivity rate from the city yet?
The last one I looked at was below 3%.
The 2.2, that was like
yes.
almost 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they have not updated. I think there's a lot of folks who are off during the holiday,
Yeah.
and so I think it may be behind, yes. We'll
Did they
definitely
tell
check.
you?
I'll
Did they
send it out
tell
to
you when that should be coming?
I'm sorry?
Did they give us any information about when we should be getting that?
No, but I know they normally update it every 2 weeks.
So when I looked online over the holidays, because I was monitoring it,
Me too.
it had stated on there that it's on a 2-week cycle right now. And so as soon as we get it, Melinda sends it out to us to let us know. But this morning I heard that the San Antonio area had moved in its metrics from moderate to severe based on the impact on the emergency.
Right.
So so I know that they have updated. I don't know if they've posted it.
I checked yesterday, the positivity rate hasn't moved from 2.2, right? Because that informs our decision-making, right?
Yes.
Those metrics.
And I think what we heard in our meeting, Ms. Garza Lopez, was whatever you do, just expect that the numbers are going to continue to
Right.
go up for long.
We just have no idea where we're at, right?
Right.
Are we, okay, severe in the hospitalizations, but what about positivity rates and all these other metrics? Okay. As soon as you hear, if you know before we do, you'll let us know?
Yes, I'll
Okay.
send something out today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So as permitted by section 551.001-551.146 of the Texas Government Code, we will go into closed session. We'll go back into open session, back to item 5.
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation on personnel.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any questions? No, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same? Okay, that carries. So just a reminder, board, have your recommendations and suggestions for the local policy by Monday. Don't take any after Monday. I'm just kidding. But let's try to get them in by Monday. Lloyd?
Also, I'd like to keep everyone Sylvester in your thoughts right now. I know he's in Phoenix and kind of mitigating this really horrible travel opportunities that exist right now. Also like to congratulate Ms. Tina Castro, who become the AP at Big Country Elementary, and Nora Lopez, who's going to be our HR coordinator, coming to us from Laredo. Congratulations to those two folks.
And then I guess continue to keep the McEwen family
Absolutely.
in your prayers.
Yes. Amen. A former student, Audrey McEwen,
Yeah.
has passed away, and so keep the family in thoughts and prayers.
Is that it? Okay, then we will call the meeting adjourned.